Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Labor Live at 12:05. My name's Alex Jorgensen, and I'm the Communications Director here at the Alaska AFL-CIO. And man, what a busy week it has been in the legislature. Unfortunately, they were not able to override Dunleavy's veto, but instead of focusing on that, we've been spending a lot of our time focused on the base student allocation. I wanted to bring our attention to a different issue that we haven't covered yet here on Labor Live, and that's paid parental leave. So we are so excited to have one lawmaker on our program today that is really eager to make a difference when it comes to paid parental leave. I'm talking of Representative Carolyn Hall. Carolyn, welcome to the program.
Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
No, of course. I mean, we're so thankful that you've introduced this piece of legislation, HB 193, creating paid parental leave. And I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your motivations behind introducing the bill and just kind of overall, why is paid parental leave a good thing?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, I'll start off by saying that 23% of mothers in the United States return to work within 10 days of giving birth, and that's almost always due to a lack of income. And so experts recommend that mothers need at least 6 weeks to recover from vaginal birth with no complications and 12 weeks for a C-section. So obviously there's a lot of disparity there. And in 66% of Alaska's households with children, all parents report working. The National Institute of Health estimates that on average, 24% of women exit the labor market in their first year of motherhood. And in 5 years later, that percentage drops to 17%. And after a decade, still 15% are absent. So obviously that's having a lot of impact on our workforce and our economy. And so paid parental leave supports parents. It allows women who take paid leave to have a 51% reduction in the odds of being rehospitalized within 21 months of giving birth. And it has a positive associations with reductions in stress and increase in exercise, which are both critical for new mothers. And mothers with paid leave are less likely to report postpartum depression, with some studies showing a 2% reduction in poor mental health with each week of extra paid leave. So paid parental leave can reduce maternal health disparities for at-risk populations, such as African Americans and Alaska Natives. And fathers are more likely to report greater engagement in children's lives, which boosts cognitive and developmental benefits for children. So how paid parental leave can support our state is with 75% of Alaskans. Well, let me just backtrack just a little bit. Sorry. Most working people in the United States do not have paid leave through their jobs, including about 75% of Alaskans. So that's a significant number. And that's equal to approximately 270,000 workers in our state. So if women in Alaska participated in the labor force at the same rate as women in countries with paid leave, there would be an estimated 8,000 additional workers in the state and $313 million more wages earned statewide. So in a competitive labor market, one way for Alaska to affordably attract employees in the public and private sectors clearly would be a paid parental leave policy. It's a significant issue and one that we can really, truly benefit from.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still just trying to process the fact that roughly 25% of women are returning to the workforce 10 days after having a kid. I mean, this is not obviously something that I will ever have firsthand experience with, but that just makes no sense to me that, it's so obvious of why, women need to spend time with their children after they're born. I mean, like you said, all the health impacts. But what I really appreciated about what you just said is all the economic impacts that it actually could have for our state. We're talking about how it's been such a tight labor market, how, all that impact that has on businesses. But maybe this paid parental policy could help alleviate a little bit of that tight labor factor by allowing people to actually return to the workforce instead of just leaving it after they have a kid.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of ripple across economic factors here. Just allow this respite for women to have the time to bond with their children. It helps the children cognitively. It helps the mother recover. And then they're back at work when they're able and ready, and they're able to participate in the economy again.
Wow. So does Alaska currently have a system of paid parental leave or paid or just parental leave in general?
Parental leave, no.
Wow. Wow. Well, clearly, this is obviously then a really important bill to get going. And so I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about exactly how your bill, HB 193, actually kind of introduces a paid parental leave system.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
think we
absolutely.
have your
Mhm.
staff on if you want to take the first stab at it and then.
No, it would be great. Let's welcome
Okay.
my chief of staff, Tristan Walsh, to the program. Yeah, thank you, Alex. Yeah, Tristan can walk through the mechanics of the graphic that we showed in that previous Labor and Commerce, that one right there, in that previous Labor and Commerce Committee meeting. And it looks like, oh, there he is. Okay.
Yep. So thank you all for having us today. So Alaska is unique in that we are one of 3 states that in its unemployment insurance program requires employee contributions. The employer contribution is required by federal law. And so that is what feeds into the UI Trust Fund and that workers can avail themselves when they are looking for work. So for the employee contribution, you can see on the upper half of this chart, that's a 0.5% deduction from your paycheck. And it goes towards things like STEP and TVEP over the course of the last couple decades. Those programs have been really innovative ways that Alaska is working to train our workforce. And I'm sure anybody in labor is familiar with those programs. What's unique is that there was a remainder, 0.15%, that still went into the UI Trust Fund. And so that is not necessarily required. And so one of the things that we heard from the Department of Labor, and this was in presentations they gave before our committee, and they also referenced in the August 2024 Labor Trends magazine, is that the UI Trust Fund is very solvent. It's doing fine. And it's safe to divert this 0.15% remainder from the employee's paycheck towards a paid parental leave program. So this would be a benefit that workers are entitled to. And it is something that, again, is really unique in that we have essentially infrastructure built across the state where all employers and employees are contributing to these programs. It's in operation. We can simply put it towards rededicate that fund, that contribution towards paid parental leave.
So if I'm hearing you right, Tristan, basically when we get paid as workers, we pay a certain percentage of our take-home pay to unemployment insurance. And
Correct.
The employee portion that comes out of our paycheck goes primarily towards STEP and TVEP grants, right?
Correct.
But then there's this extra kind of pool of money that currently goes into another fund, the Unemployment Insurance Fund, which is super healthy and probably maybe even overfunded. So what this bill is kind of directing to do then is take that small portion that's going into UI and actually establish a new fund to provide this paid parental leave benefit.
Correct.
Wow, that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, so what are kind of the next steps for HB 193?
Sure. We're continuing to hear it in Labor and Commerce. And so we're going to have some data and experts and invited testimony next Monday. And then we're going to consider amendments, and we're going to be looking at what policy levels based on that data that is returned to us, like the duration of the leave, how much of the leave will be available to pay those folks who are taking advantage of it. So we're very much in the machinations of trying to figure out those finer details. And once we pass it out of the Labor and Commerce Committee, we'll be sending it along to the House Finance Committee for further vetting. And I think if there's anybody who wants to follow along in this closely, they should text HB 193 to number 559-245-2529.
Perfect. And that's the AK legislative bill tracker, right?
Yes. Yep. That's what that is.
What a great resource. What a great resource. Well, first off, I just want to thank, again, both of you for not only coming on the program today, but also for all the hard work you're doing on behalf of Alaska's working families. Paid parental leave, I'm sure, is something that's long overdue here in Alaska, and it really is going to have, I think, a real positive impact. We've seen, I think there's just been a lot of bad news coming out of the legislature as of late. So it's really nice to see a little bit of a shining light of positive, proactive things that the legislature is doing to make Alaska a better place to live and to raise a family. So for that, thank you. Any kind of closing remarks you have before we end the program?
I think for me, it's just that I'm, again, really thankful to be here with you and to talk about HB 193. And I am proud and honored to be here serving Alaskans and serving my district, which is District 16, West Anchorage. So please let me know if there's anything that I can do to support you. I'm happy to support unions and working families.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. That is all we have for today's program. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to tune in next week as we bring you another issue impacting Alaska's working families. So have a great weekend.